The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers from miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to 4-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
Richard Wiegand this morning, and we're located at a place that's pretty prominent as far as in the Cleveland area here. So maybe Richard can go ahead and indicate where we are and what it's all about, please.
Yeah, I'm Richard Wiegand. I'm the fifth generation descendant on this farm. This is the Wiegand farm on Union Road, 15322 South Union Road, Cleveland, Wisconsin. Our family has been here since 1848. A lot of the buildings have changed. I'll talk about a little bit of that here, but this farm was originally settled by my great-great-grandmother Frederica Hamann, who was married to a man named Ferdinand Mavis. And in the first year, within 6 months, we figured he died, and Wiegand came here looking for work. Wiegand came from Germany without a family.
Okay.
And within the first year, within 1848, Wiegand came here looking for work and ended up getting married to Frederica.
Okay.
She was a recent widow.
Okay.
I would mention that, and we can look at the site here, that Ferdinand Mavis is buried on this farm, and also a son, an infant son named John. They died of scarlet fever in 1848, and I can show you where the site is where they're buried. It's just right near us here.
Okay, very good. All right, we'll take, if that's within range here, we'll take care of that. And he's indicated some burial sites here that are quite important. If you go ahead, please, Richard.
Yeah, Ferdinand Mavis and the son, John, who was an infant, probably under a year old, died in 1848. I believe that Frederica also got scarlet fever, but she recovered from it. And there used to be a small graveyard here.
Okay.
It's between the northwest corner of the smokehouse here and the southeast corner of the pig barn.
Okay.
It used to be the pig barn.
Okay.
There was, until 1912, there were markers here. I believe they were metal crosses.
Oh.
And we had somebody, Vernon Boland, in fact, was 5 or 6 years old and used to visit. He was a cousin. He used to play here on the farm, and he came over at one point in the 1980s and pointed out the spot to us where these graves used to be, because
really?
Of course my father is younger. He wasn't born at that time yet.
Yes.
He said they removed them in 1912, and I corroborated this with Anita Wagner, who is also not with us anymore.
Okay.
So we believe there's the two people are buried here. There was another Wiegand daughter that existed, was born in 1850, is listed on the census. I think her name was Christina. We have no record of her anywhere. Wherever she went, she must have died as an infant. We have no idea where she's buried. I asked this question of Anita Wagner, and she said, to her knowledge, there were only the two people buried here. There weren't three people here.
Okay.
So Christina Wiegand is buried somewhere else, and we have no idea where. But she would have died in 1850.
Okay.
And the cemetery, as far as I know, the Saxon Cemetery wasn't started until around 1852 or 53.
Okay.
So, we don't have a clue
yes.
Where this girl is buried.
My gosh. Okay, very good, Richard. Thank you. It's a little bit more information, and it's important also.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand, talking about the Mavis graves that are here. The Manitowoc County Historical Society, or the people who take care of knowing where burial plots are, do know that this site exists.
Okay.
There were some people that came around in the 1980s and were asking you know, they went to the cemetery, Saxon Cemetery, which is back there,
Yes.
and they were asking, you know, if there were any other grave sites around here, and of course we mentioned this one, and
Yeah.
we also mentioned the Wagner Grunwald farm on Orchard Road and Union Road. They have a cemetery on their farm.
Okay. Very good.
That's where we're at that right now.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. Wardrobe here he wants to point out.
Yeah, we just happened to be here. My mother does my laundry for me when I'm home on weekends, and this shirt I got in Cuba. Actually, I was there in 2001, but
Okay.
that's my shirt.
Okay.
This shirt I got in Paris in 2002, and it says on here that a camel can work for 10 days without drinking. I can drink for 10 days without working. That's what it says in French.
Very good saying.
This is the shirt from Costa Rica,
Okay.
and it says here this is the Air Force of Costa Rica.
Uh-huh.
Birds. This is the Army of Costa Rica, which is, you know, land animals, and
Yes.
this is the Navy of Costa Rica, which is, you know,
Oh,
sea animals.
sea animals.
Because you know, it says here these are the armed forces of Costa Rica. Ejército, that's what it means. Costa Rica does not have an army. They have no
Nothing.
military.
No military at all.
They abandoned the military in around 1950.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So they make a joke about what their army is composed of here. So. And this last shirt is not quite so strange. It's Organic Farming 2001. I went to an organic conference
Oh, really?
in La Crosse for
Okay.
organic farming.
Okay, very good.
So that's what that shirt's about.
Very unique, Richard. Thank you. Yeah, I have Richard standing here next to a sign, and he maybe can give us some more information about that.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. Today is July 19th. I know you have the date on there. July
Yes.
19th, 2002. This sign says the Wiegand estate. This was a gift from my brother-in-law, Hoyt Heinemann, for Christmas one year. There's no way that any Wiegand is arrogant or bold enough to put a sign like this up. We wouldn't call ourselves, I mean, this farm has never been called the Wiegand estate.
Yes.
But we have the sign. It was given to us. It's a nice sign.
Yes, it is.
You can find
Very
this a
nice.
little easier.
Very nice.
We'll just move to the house
Yes.
now.
Go right ahead, Richard.
The original house that was here was a two-story wood frame house that was built in 1871.
Okay.
And we took it down. We actually burned it. I wasn't here, but we burned it in 1972. And it was located out to the front here,
All right.
right in this area here where this tree is.
Okay.
So when we built the new house, we pushed it back a bit.
Yes.
Because you know how it goes, they widen roads.
Absolutely.
And, in fact, we have a road widening or a ditch widening issue right now on Union Road here.
Okay.
There's these trees over here, and we hope we don't lose this tree.
Yes.
These trees here were planted by my great-grandmother Agnes Lutzy Wiegand in 1900.
Oh my God.
So this tree and this tree are both 100 or 102 years old.
Yes. My
And
goodness.
this tree, in fact, has been hit by lightning. And there was bark all over the place, and we thought the tree would die, and,
Yes.
and the tree is still here.
Still
This tree was
going.
hit by lightning maybe 25 years ago.
For heaven's sake. They are gigantic
They
too.
are silver maples.
Silver maples. Okay.
We have a photograph of the farm in the front in 1910, and these trees are both about this wide.
Yes. Yes. Very nice.
So,
And a special person planted them, so it's
yeah,
all.
a special person planted them. Very important person. Agnes Lutzy, of course, was born in the house barn, on our house barn project.
Oh, is that the property? Okay.
Yeah, that's the property. That's where my great-grandmother came from.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Richard. Point out a few things about the land itself. Go right ahead, Richard.
Richard Wiegand, talking about the Wiegand farm. The original Wiegand farm was 80 acres,
Okay.
and it was the south side of the farm here. The property line was about where, well, you see where the tractor is
Yes.
coming there.
Okay, I've got that.
There's Washington Avenue comes up from Cleveland. That road is no longer open on this side of the interstate. Okay.
Yes.
But it comes right up, and that was the boundary of our land, was from maybe where the mailbox is or where those
Okay.
telephone connection areas are.
Yes. Okay, I've got that, Richard.
West.
Okay.
We added another 40 acres of land. I think it was in the 1870s sometime.
All right.
I remember the date. We added the other 40 acres that's on the other side. So we
Okay.
have 120 acres here.
Okay. And then that Washington Street, as you indicate, is still partially there on the other side of the interstate?
Yeah, it's a private road now.
Okay.
But we used to take that to go to Cleveland.
Ah, yes.
But when the interstate came through, it was cut off because
Yes.
it's a half-mile road. So they cut it off. So
All
it's
right.
just used by the Classics over here and by Schnelly, who
All
owns
right.
that farm there.
Very good.
I
Okay.
want to mention
Yes,
the
go right
smokehouse.
ahead.
While we're looking here, the smokehouse was built from Cream City brick,
Ah,
as was the milk house up there,
okay.
around 1900. We're not exactly sure. It was either 1898 or 99 or 1900, somewhere there.
All right.
And the smokehouse was also, there's also a bake oven in there. We haven't, I mean, it hasn't been used for years and it has kind of crumbled in a little bit. The bricks have
Yes.
deteriorated, but it was a smokehouse and it was a bake house. And this building is 100 years old. And the milk house by the barn is 100 years old. And these Cream City bricks were from the brickyards in Cleveland, Wisconsin.
Ah.
In Hika, there were actually two brickyards down there
Okay.
in Cleveland. And so that's where these bricks came from.
Wow. They're still pretty good shape as far as I can see from here.
Well, we keep things repaired here.
Yeah.
We always paint.
Well,
And
that's part of being a property owner and a good property owner.
exactly. We always like to keep a very neat homestead.
Okay. So we can, let's see, would you be able to point out the barn and we can walk up there?
Well, if you can see it from here,
Yes.
the barn, the wooden part of it, the big part of it on the top, was built in the 1880s.
Okay.
And in 1898, they lifted it up and they put the stone foundation under. So the
really?
downstairs of the barn was added in 1898. We have a date on that.
Okay.
Also, there's I think the 30 feet of the barn. The barn is 100 feet long and it's 35 feet high or 40 feet high and it's 40 feet wide. The 30 feet of the barn on the south side, we can tell from the inside that it was added later.
Okay.
So I think the original barn was probably 70 or 75 feet. And then maybe when they added the foundation under, then they
added that.
out. There's a building, there's two buildings in the back of the barn
Yes.
that are attached.
Okay.
The granary is the taller one of the two.
All right.
And that was also probably built at the same time that the barn was.
Okay.
Timbering and everything is similar to the barn. The one in between, that piece in between was I think added probably around 1915 or something like that, or 1920.
Okay. And that particular function of that part was what?
The function of the part in the middle was actually more storage for grain, and the horses were kept underneath. They moved the horses out of the barn, and they kept the horses in that part. So there used to be some horse stalls in there.
All right. Very good. Very good. Okay.
We'll start with the pig barn over here. This pig barn was built a little after 1900, maybe around 1900. My dad isn't quite sure. We know that the person who built it was William R. Taple, who was the mason in Cleveland. He was a mason and he was a carpenter, famous guy. In fact, he probably had a lot to do with.
Okay.
Probably also built the smokehouse and the milk house here.
All right.
There's an area here. We saw in the history a reference to a house barn on this farm.
Yes. Okay.
Nobody ever knew anything about a house barn. It must have been taken down when the other house was built in 1871. It must have been taken down around that time or a little bit after that.
Okay.
We don't know where it was, but we think it might have been here because this part of the cow yard here is actually cobblestone. It's covered with dirt here.
Oh, really?
But this part of the cow yard here is all cobblestone. All the way through here, and it goes back probably to the end of that cement there.
Okay.
And we think that the original house barn, just because of the location of this area of protection
Yes.
from the north, from the wind and everything, and it's a flat place here, we think that there may have been a house barn here. That's
Okay.
just my guess.
All right.
We have never done an archaeological dig or anything to find anything here.
All right. But you had mentioned another house barn that's down the road to the north, is that correct?
Yeah, there's the Lutzy house barn, which Centerville Settlement is restoring.
Okay.
That's about 2 miles down the road here, and the Those are my relatives. As
Okay.
I mentioned, Agnes Lutzy was my great-grandmother, and she was from that farm.
All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Richard. Richard, at a different location here on the farmyard, if you'd like to indicate some more information for us.
Yes, Richard Wiegand on the Wiegand farm. This building was built in 1970, I believe. It's a machinery shed. There used to be an older shed here, what may have also been a barn.
Okay.
And I think before that big barn was built, we had a barn here, and we had a house over there, and we had some other outbuildings on the farm originally. But there used to be another shed here, and I helped take that down.
Okay.
And then we built this machinery shed here and planted these trees back here.
All right. Very nice.
This garage,
Okay.
the back part of it is the chicken barn. And in fact, if you look, now you can't see on the inside, but there's actually a roof on the inside, and there's boards on there. There's external boards. The chicken barn part of it, we're not sure, but it dates to the early 1900s sometime.
Okay.
The front part here, which is where the vehicles are, was added on a little bit later. My dad said maybe in the 1920s.
Okay.
As a garage.
All right.
And in fact, I think the chicken barn may have even been moved slightly. It may have had a different location, but somewhere around here.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Didn't take anything down, just added right to it.
Yeah, just added right to it.
Okay, very good. Got another piece of building that is kind of unique, and Richard can explain that a little bit.
Yes, that silo back here, you can see the one side of it. We used to fill, of course. They used to fill from this side.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, they built this section in here, and then
Ah.
they opened up another opening on the other side of the roof there.
Okay.
That silo was built in 1900. And
Oh.
we actually have documentation on that. And I did a silo article in 1989 for the Manitowoc County Historical Society with Walter Vogel from Two Rivers. And we looked at old silos all around the county
Yes.
and tried to get dates on them. Different kinds of silos, square silos and wooden silos and
Okay.
everything. And this silo we've established was built in 1900, was the oldest silo that I could date.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm not saying it's the oldest silo in the county,
But
it's
yes.
very close to the oldest silo in the county.
Very nice.
It's the oldest one that I could date.
Okay.
The Klessiks across the road have a similar silo that was built in 1901.
Holy cow.
Built the year after.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Material-wise, what is in that silo? Was it stave or
No,
wood?
it's stone.
It's stone.
We'll go on the other side and look at it. It's
Okay.
as thick. The walls are about this thick. It's stone.
Okay.
All the way up to the wooden part on the top.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Thank you. Looking in the granary, I believe it was.
It's under the granary.
Under the granary, and Richard can give us some more information on what we're looking at.
We've got two old Wiegand gravestones here. The one had already broken off. They're from the Saxon Cemetery. And one of them is for the original Wiegand, and one of them is for a son of his that died when he was 18 years old. And they died a year apart. So the stones are made of the same thing. They're sandstone.
Okay.
And they were deteriorating, but we could still read them. And we just decided to replace them with marble stones.
Okay.
And then we brought the stones home and we put them underneath the granary here.
Oh, wonderful. At least they are out of the weather and
Correct.
will
Yeah.
maintain their legibility there.
Well, I would like to donate them to Centerville Settlement at some point.
Okay. Very good. Located on a different side of the buildings, and Richard can give us some more information on what we are looking at.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand on the Wiegand farm. We're behind the barn now, and you can see the back side of the barn, and of course we keep it painted real nice, and you can see the silo. This is the stone silo I was talking about. This was built in 1900.
Okay.
And like I said, it's the oldest silo that I could date when I was doing my silo article for the
Okay.
Historical Society. And this is the back side of the granary here.
Okay.
Also in very good condition.
Yes.
Stone foundation under it.
Yes.
This is the cow yard here, where you see the white fence. My brother put this fence up, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. It's a white plastic. It's a real hard plastic.
Oh, really? Okay.
I used to have a fence up. I put a fence up when I was farming here. Actually, it was before I was running this farm. It was in the 1970s when I was working for my dad. We put a similar fence up. And it lasted for about 25 or 30 years, and we actually took down a wooden silo and we used the silo staves from a wooden silo.
Uh-huh.
And I made a complete fence around the car with one silo.
My
In fact, we had lumber left over. So some of the historical people don't like that, because we took down an old
bill.
we took down, it wasn't our silo, it was somebody else's
Somebody
silo.
else's. Ah, yes, okay.
So we always like having a white
Yes.
fence, it makes the place really, really look nice.
Well, when you described directions to me and I drove up to the yard here, that stands out very prominent.
Exactly. Now
Yes.
this area here, of course, now is the family garden.
Okay.
I don't take any credit for it. My parents do all the work.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. In fact, the gardens used to be bigger, and we used to have a lot of strawberries back here too.
Man, it's immaculate out there.
Yes. There's a grove of trees. These are also silver maples back here.
Okay.
Going out to the back there, and I think there might have been another one that's gone now.
All right.
But there used to be an apple orchard back here.
Okay.
And it went around, it was in the front of the barn, over toward, around that area there, toward Schnelly's farm there.
Yeah.
And through this area here, there used to be an apple orchard here.
Oh my gosh.
It was a few acres.
Wow.
And when I was growing up, I only remember the stumps. They had cut the trees down. This was in the early 1950s.
All
I
right.
only remember stumps here. The reason this apple orchard was put here, we had an apple orchard on the south side of the farm here too, behind the garage.
Yes.
And that was still there when I was young. But the reason this apple orchard was established is because some of the people living to the west of us wanted to put a road, wanted to extend the Washington Avenue, wanted to extend the road to Cleveland.
Yes.
Through the middle of our farm.
Oh.
Back here.
Yes.
Okay, there was a guy named Axley, and I can't remember who else.
Okay.
And my great-grandfather, Louis Wiegand, who was married to Lutzi, said no way that they're going to put a road through the middle of our farm. So he planted an apple orchard, and this must have been 1900 or somewhere there, I don't know what, but he planted an apple orchard in this area here to block off the path of the road. So the road was not built.
Never built. Never built.
Never built. So.
Well.
Little politics, but...
Yeah, that's how it goes. Very good, though. Good story. Good story. Very good. Nice. It's, well, I got to say again, my compliments to your parents on the condition of the garden. That is excellent. Out in the more of the field area, but Richard has more information in regards to the farm acreage.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand on the Wiegand farm. This farm, like I said, was originally 80 acres. The south side of it was purchased first, and then 40 acres on that side was added, a long 40.
Okay.
Was added later. The farm is a perfect rectangle. It's a half a mile from the road to the west boundary.
Okay.
And it's I think it's 3/8 of a mile wide. It isn't a half a mile wide. It's,
okay.
It's 3/8 of a mile wide.
Yes.
This lane has been here ever since I can remember. I mean, we used to take the cows out the lane. All of this used to be fenced. Every field used to be fenced.
Yeah.
With the barbed wire and netting fences and wooden posts and that. We always had to maintain these fences.
Yes. I see. Pardon me, Richard. I see some woods out to the west. Is that any kind of boundary?
Well, the woods to the northwest there.
Yes.
Our land runs right up to it.
Okay.
And on the south side of it, that's Woodrow-Dines Woods. And you can see these small trees growing along there. That's the property line.
All right.
There's a tree.
That's good.
All those are property line trees.
Okay.
Our land extends probably another 1,000 feet, maybe not quite, beyond that woods to the west.
Okay.
There used to be 2 elm trees on our western boundary there after, on the other side of that cornfield, but they died from Dutch elm disease.
Ah, yes.
So they aren't there anymore. But that woods now, if you're looking, the woods that you can see the closest to us.
Yes.
Starting about in the middle of our property and going to the south. That woods is ours. Most of it is ours. Well, it's shared by 3 neighbors.
All right.
We have 16 acres of woods.
Okay.
Ulrich has got about 6 acres in the back.
All right.
And Shafransky, Shafransky has sold part of that off now, but that part of, I don't know how large it is, but it must be 25, 30 acres of trees back here.
Okay.
At least 20, maybe 25 acres of trees. We have put there's 12 acres of land in front of the woods. It's real hilly. It's up and down.
All right.
And it goes down to the woods. Our 16 acres of woods. It's about 12 acres of land there that we've put in the conservation reserve program.
Okay.
And that's been in for about 15 years already. So there's a lot of grass and there's small trees growing.
Trees growing
it's
too.
going back to nature.
Okay, very good.
That 12 acres was cleared off to build this barn here.
Oh, really?
Barn, yeah.
Okay.
My dad said that he was told that the woods used to come up as far as, you know, just over the hill here.
Yeah.
And they cleared that whole area off to build the barn and probably the maybe the pig barn and the
Sure.
granary at that time.
A person doesn't realize with the hand labor that they had,
Yes.
and with no real mechanical, if you will,
Yeah.
the amount of work that it took to clear the land and use the materials and so forth.
We have a photograph taken from back there. There's a couple of little, where the lane goes here, there's a little bit of a small, not a hill, but you know, a little bit up and a little down, and then there's a little bit up and a little down again.
Yeah.
We have a photograph taken from back there looking toward the Saxon Cemetery.
Okay.
And it shows the church, which was removed in 1923.
Okay.
And it shows the church on it. So the picture was taken, I think it was 1915 or something like
Wow.
that. There's a date on it.
Yeah.
And it shows that little bit of a hill, not the one you see, but the one after it,
Yes.
to be more prominent. So from that time to this time, this land has eroded off a little bit, so
Okay.
that the hill isn't as prominent anymore as it used to be. You can
Oh.
really see it on the photo.
Oh,
So
amazing.
you can see what happened to the land. You know,
Sure.
the hills go down a little bit because they get
They wear it out.
eroded off
Sure.
over
The
time,
wind and everything, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Washing away.
washing away.
Yeah.
You know,
It
from
all
village
keeps
and-
going. It all keeps
all
going.
keeps going.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention was we were talking about the yellow clay that was used to make the bricks, the Cream City bricks.
Yes, for that.
We don't have any yellow clay on this farm that I know of. It's apparently rare, but they had the brickyards down in Cleveland that had the clay.
Okay.
We have red clay on this farm,
Okay.
which you can make red bricks out of. I don't know that we ever did.
Okay.
We also have a section of blue clay, which
Oh,
is the
boy.
worst clay you could
That's
ever
the
run
worst
into.
stuff,
It's the
yes.
worst stuff in the world. It's really hard. It sticks to your shovel. I mean, you almost have to take an air hammer to clean your shovel off.
Yes.
It's really terrible. And in this little dip down here behind these wagons,
Yes.
there's a tile line that runs through there.
Okay.
And it broke at some point when I was farming, and I remember digging it up, and there was blue clay under there. It was the most horrid stuff I've ever seen, about 2 feet below the surface.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and I don't know how much of that's on the farm, but
Yeah.
it's when you run into it, you certainly know what it is.
Yes. Very good. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Richard. A bit of more information that Richard has in regard to the background area. Go right ahead, Richard.
Richard Wiegand on the Wiegand farm. From where our wood starts there's actually a kind of a valley. You can't see it from here. You can only see where the grass is, but that it really falls off. It might fall off about 50 feet. 40,
Really?
50 feet goes down. That whole wooded area there is actually low. You know,
Okay.
It's much lower than the surface in front.
Okay.
And that valley extends all the way across in front of the woods, and you can see those light-colored trees in there. Those are willows. That's a wet area.
Okay.
And that whole area then going to the south, to the southwest, actually leads to a small pond
Oh my gosh.
on the neighbor's farm.
Oh.
And we always, it used to be a guy named Gupsh used to own this farm over here.
Yeah.
We always called it Gupsh's Lake, and it's a couple acres. It's a good acre, maybe 2 acres.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
and nobody ever seems to know about it. And
Yeah.
you cannot get near it in the summertime because it's all mud and it's almost like quicksand
Yes. Yes.
around it. In fact, Gupsh lost a few cows in there.
Oh my
They got
gosh.
too close to the water and they sunk in
Sunk
and they
in.
disappeared.
Wow.
So there is a small lake over on the other side there. It's a very scenic area, but you know, it's completely hidden. Nobody knows about it.
Yes.
It's a 1 or 2 acre lake in there.
For heaven's sake.
And we got a nice valley. We got a really nice view back where behind these hills, you know, where that goes across there.
Is there water flowing through this valley at all?
Yeah, we've actually got a tile line that drains that northwest corner of our farm
Okay.
and over to the lane, and then it runs out. Under the lane, there's a culvert, and then it runs out, and we've put a pond back there.
Okay.
So it runs through the pond, and then it runs through another little small valley, and then it runs out where the willow trees are.
All right.
It runs back in down there, and there's another creek, a couple creeks in the woods that drain different parts of the land back there, and those areas, that all drains into that lake.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you. The yard here of the Wiegand farm, and Richard has a bit more information here. Go right ahead, Richard.
About the Wiegand farm, again, a couple of things I wanted to mention was underneath this milk house was, we believe, the original Wiegand well. And we used to always use it as the drain. And then, of course, with the state inspection and regulations, when I took over the farm, I put a tile line from the milk house out back to the west, and it drains into a tile line, you know, back in the field there.
Okay.
Off the farm.
All right.
But we opened it up. There was a drain right under the middle of the milk house, and we took the concrete off the top of it. And my dad said he thought it was a well, and indeed it was.
Okay.
It was a stone-lined well.
See? Okay.
And I took a brick on a rope, and I lowered it down in to see how deep it was, and it was 33 feet deep.
Really?
Yeah, 33 feet deep. We tried to pump it out and couldn't do it because the
It had a water flow.
Water keeps coming in from all
Sure.
over the place. We
Right.
got it down about 5 or 6 feet, and
But-
we could see the stones around the outside. And this is the original Wiegand well that's underneath here.
My gosh, when you think what they had to work with to keep that water out while they were digging this thing.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, they knew where to find water.
They sure did. They sure did.
The second thing I wanted to mention is this farm has been in the Wiegand's family since 1848.
Okay.
There's several farms up and down Union Road here that are homestead farms
Okay.
like ours. They go back to statehood, and one of them is, of course, Classic across the road on the east side here.
Okay.
Goes back to 1850. There's another farm that I may have mentioned with the cemetery plot on it, the Grunwald Wagner. They're related. A Grunwald married a Wagner.
All right.
And that farm goes back to 1848. It's on Union Road and Orchard, just across into Sheboygan County.
Oh.
The Orth farm, where Norbert Orth was established, I think it was in 1853 or 1854.
Okay.
Then we go down the road here, across the XX, past the cemetery here, past the intersection.
Yes.
And on the right-hand side, there's a farm that belongs to David Yanik.
Okay.
And that farm is one of the original 3 farms in town Centerville. The 3 farms were Yanik, Potitz, and Schneider.
Okay.
Okay, Schneider has been off of his farm for a long time. I think it's where Ronnie Schmidt, where he has his excavation business now.
Okay.
Potitz there was a daughter that married a Fiedler, and they were on the farm there until I think Lester Fiedler died about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
That farm was still in the family from 1847 until that point. No longer is in the family.
Okay.
The Yanik farm is still Yanik. It's
Okay.
always been Yanik since
All right.
1847.
Wow.
So that's the oldest existing farm in existing family business
Okay.
in this area. Then after Yanik, you have the Lutzy farm,
Yes.
and that's since 1849.
Holy man.
Has been in the Lutzy family. And then after that, you go up to Highway X, and Brian Kramer, he's the chairman of the Township of Centerville. That was, I forget what the name was before, but they intermarried again.
Okay.
That's an 1848
Okay.
vintage family farm.
Now this 1848, that number is something to do with statehood, too,
Yeah,
is it not?
Wisconsin became a state in 1848.
Okay.
And, this area opened up.
All right.
Settlers came in here mostly from Germany,
Okay.
but also from different ethnic groups.
Very good.
This area was Saxon German.
Okay. Is that a location in Germany itself?
Yeah, Saxony, there's 2 different Saxonies. There's an upper and a lower Saxony.
Okay.
And I don't know which is which, but I think they're from the Saxon. Well, I know my ancestors are from the Saxony that's in East Germany.
Okay.
And in fact, I was there in February, March of this year in 2002. I went to Dresden,
Great.
which is where one of my ancestors comes from.
All right. Now I presume the cemetery name that we're referring to, that has tie-in with that also?
Exactly, that's called Saxon Cemetery, and the school, the grade school, which is a lot of trees around it now, is some private property now.
Okay.
Where I went to school for 8 years.
Yes.
Graduated from a one-room school in 1962.
Okay.
That was Pleasant Hill School, but the original name was Saxon School.
All right.
And we think we refer to this as Saxon Road. Union Road here, I think, used to be called Saxon
Road.
also.
Okay. Very good. Very good, Richard. Thank you. Okay, I've got Richard here, and he can explain a few things about this particular cemetery.
Richard Wiegand, this is the Saxon Cemetery. It's July 19th, 2002. This is a sign, a marble Saxon Cemetery sign here that was donated by Alfred Fisher by the estate in 1988. It says that on the back of the stone here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, Richard has some more information that we might be able to use for historical purposes.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand, concerning the Saxon Cemetery, as far as I know, and I'm not sure, I don't have the records with me, Arlie Haupt actually has the cemetery records.
Okay.
He's, what is he, the treasurer or the secretary or something of the Cemetery Association. But the cemetery was established around 1852 or 1853.
Okay.
I think about the same time that the church was established here. There was originally a church here called St. Peter's Lutheran or Evangelical Lutheran or something, but it was a Lutheran church. Was established here with this cemetery, and the church, we always used to think that the church was in this area here where there's no gravestones.
Okay.
In fact, when we look at the old photos, we see that that was not the case. The church was actually located in this area here on the other side of this fence. Right up to the road. It was very close to the road.
Okay.
Right from the post here on this side was a wooden church.
Okay.
And there also was, according to Woodrow Dine, there also was a shed across the road on the west side of Union Road here where they used to park the horses
Okay.
and the wagons.
So like a livery stable or a building?
Well, it was like a garage or a shed or something.
All
There
right.
may have also been a building on the cemetery here on this bare spot.
Okay.
We haven't established that.
All right.
As far as I know, the garage or the shed that was across the road on the west side
Yep.
was split in half after this church was taken down. I might mention first that St. Peter Church here and St. John's or St. Johannes in Cleveland, in Hika, the Hika part of Cleveland,
Yes.
joined together in 1923 to form St. John St. Peter
Okay.
Lutheran Church. So
All right.
after that, the two wooden churches were taken down.
Okay.
And my dad said that when he used to walk to school from our farm here
Yes.
to the school over here, he remembers seeing just a bit of a foundation yet of the church. They had to
okay.
remove the whole thing, and he was born in 1921.
All right.
My
Very
dad
good.
was baptized in this church.
In this church
that
here.
used to be here.
Okay.
But what I was talking about was the shed. I think it was the one that was across the road. It was split in half, and half of it became the garage at St. Peter
Really?
Lutheran Church in Cleveland that was just taken down last year
Yes.
and replaced by
Yes.
a new garage.
Really?
And the other half of it ended up on the Jacoby farm.
Okay.
And it's no longer there, and Jacoby's no longer there either. But it
All right.
ended up on I forget which one it is. Not Edgar Jacoby. I think it was Edgar Jacoby's farm.
Okay.
Which is, I think, is on Center Road or
Yeah.
Centerville Road.
Okay.
And X or one of those roads there.
Yes.
It was on that farm. So they split the building in half, and they moved half of it to the new church, and it became the garage.
Garage.
Until
Sure.
last year or
I do
2000.
remember that
Yes,
one. I
maybe
remember
it was
that.
in 2000. I don't know. But,
Yes. Yes.
so that's what happened to that. Unfortunately, all we have are photographs of the church. We actually have a photograph, I think, of the inside of the church
Okay.
too, somewhere, but we have nothing left from this church that I know of that exists.
Okay.
So I think the cemetery would have been formed around that time, and
All
we
right.
haven't been able to determine from the graves, exactly what the first year was.
All right. So as we're standing right here, Richard, we are standing where the church
No.
was? No. Let's get that
So
straight.
the church was over here.
Okay.
If I may walk over this electric
Sure.
fence.
Yeah, watch out.
The church was here,
Okay.
and this was raised up.
All right.
This was higher up.
This was higher area.
Yeah, this was a higher area, and the church was right up to the road.
Okay.
There wasn't maybe 10 feet or 15 feet from the beginning of the church to the edge of the road. It was
Okay.
very close according to the photograph.
I presume this was a wooden church, Richard?
It was a wooden church.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you for that. That clears that up.
Okay, my brother is here.
A different location of the cemetery, and Richard can explain a little bit of a unique situation here with the gravestones.
Okay, the cemetery was established on what we call the north side of the cemetery here first, and you're seeing some smaller graves in the front. Some of these have actually been replaced. The stones have been replaced by some of the families. And this was where children were buried, small children.
Okay.
Then there's a section of cemetery you can see where there's that flat limestone or sandstone type of stone there, that real old one.
Yes.
It's a hewn stone actually. From that area on was where they buried the adults.
All right.
On the north side. And they would go, there weren't family plots at that time.
Okay.
They would go one after the other, and they'd go down the line and then come back, and then go down the line zigzagging back and forth and back and forth. You can see by the dates on the graves
Okay.
how they were buried. So
All right.
so that particular system was used until the early 1900s, we think around 1910, and then people started burying in family plots, or they
Okay.
would buy husband and wife together or something like that. So you can see after that it's all family plots.
Okay.
The south side of the cemetery is newer. The southeast part here up to the building is newer.
Okay.
Originally, there were a few stones that were along the driveway on that side. It was an area that was apart from the rest of the graves.
Okay.
They were for the suicides.
Oh, really?
And we've determined that there were 3 suicides buried in the early or the mid 1800s.
Wow.
Only one of them was identified.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, there's been a few other suicides, but they were buried on, that was
Right.
later, and they were buried with the family. But
Yes.
the suicides, maybe because of the religious stigma or something,
Yes.
were buried on a cemetery, but away from the rest of the people. They were buried over on the northeast
Okay.
side of the cemetery, and we've determined that there were probably 3 graves there.
All right. Okay, very good. This empty spot here that's leading to the east here, is there any information on that?
Well, we used to think that the church was here,
Okay.
and we were told that people didn't dig graves here because there was a foundation underneath here.
Okay.
That wasn't the case, because we've located the church to be, off in the
there.
pasture here.
Yes.
So the church was not sitting here, but we think this was a parking lot of some kind.
Ah, okay.
That's the only thing I could figure out, is that there was a parking lot. There may be some brick or some stone or something under here, I don't know. But people
All right.
have been adding graves now
Okay.
coming down this way. So I don't think that's a problem. They thought at first, they wouldn't dig because there was some foundation under here.
Okay.
But I don't think that was the reason. But for some reason, this area was left open.
All
And I
right.
think it was because it was a parking lot
Very good.
for
Okay.
buggies, horses and cars.
Thank you very much, Richard. With Richard, and he's at a point in the cemetery. There's a change takes place.
Yeah, this is Richard Wiegand. This is the part of Saxon Cemetery where they started burying the adults. The children were buried back here toward the road,
Okay.
and the gravestones are all small, and in fact there's a lot of them missing. We think these are complete rows here.
Okay.
There are stones that are missing, they've disappeared, we don't know who they are anymore.
All right.
There's got to be a record of people buried on the cemetery. We could probably figure out, what people might be there.
Okay.
This particular stone, I think, marks the beginning of where they started burying the adults.
All right.
The other thing that's important about the stone is that this person was born in 1795.
Wow.
And I think this is the only person that I know of, without knowledge of maybe some missing stones here. This was the only person that I know of that's buried here that was born in the 1700s.
Wow.
Okay, so this is the oldest stone, and in fact, I think they died in 1861, I think is what it says here.
All right. That date on the top where they were born. Could you point that out, Richard?
Right here, here it is. It's February, I don't know what it is, hard to read, but it's February 1795.
Ah, yes.
and this is 1861.
Okay.
I might also mention that the Manitowoc County Historical people, in conjunction with, I think it was a state program, the same people who came and checked, you know, the Mavis graves on our farm,
Yes.
they came here and they recorded all these stones.
Okay.
And when they couldn't read it, they took the chalk and the crayon and
Yeah.
the paper thing to get a date. Because if you put a piece of paper over this and
Sure.
then you rub a crayon on it,
Sure.
you can pick the date up on the paper,
Oh.
even if you can't read it on the stone.
Okay.
So they did that on these older stones.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Thank you, Richard. We're here on a sunny day in a Saxon Cemetery, and maybe he can identify himself and a little bit of a history about himself.
I'm John Wiegand. I live just to about a quarter mile south of here on
Okay.
a farm.
All right.
And I am the owner of that farm.
You are the owner.
I am
Okay.
the owner, right.
How long have you actually owned it under your name?
It's been in my name. It's not that long. 1996.
Okay.
Finally turned it over.
Okay.
They didn't trust me, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm the owner, and my parents also live there
Ah.
with me.
Okay. Very good.
Full time.
Very good.
And
Okay.
I'm up on the cemetery here because I'm one of the caretakers of this Saxon Cemetery.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you, John. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Marie Pippert of Cleveland. Well, I don't know anything about this one here.
Okay. All right. And you've been with us for a while on these history reconnaissance, if you will, and we enjoy your help there also.
Okay, thank
And here we have another gentleman.
Yeah, I'm Richard Wiegand. I'm John's older brother,
Okay.
and I will explain what this stone is all about here when we get done introducing ourselves.
Okay. Very good. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Melvin Yeaty, and I'm the treasurer of the cemetery right now. And in checking the records, I found out my great-grandfather was the first treasurer when the
Really?
cemetery was organized.
Well, that's a good bit of news. That's excellent. Good job. Good job. Okay, as Richard indicated, we're here for another purpose, and that is to do a little bit of checking on a few gravestones and a bit of information. We've come upon something here that Richard would like to relate something. Okay, Richard, we've got a gentleman's name here. Would you like to relate a little bit of information on what we've located?
Yeah, this is Carl R.G. Wiegand, and he's the great-great-grandfather of John and myself.
Okay.
Came over from Germany in 1848. We are pretty sure, but we don't know for sure.
Okay.
As you can see, he was born in July in 1817, and he died July 19th, which is today.
Yes.
He died in 1871. He was 54 years old.
Oh my gosh.
There's a little, excuse me, there's a little story about Carl. He left the area of Lippe-Detmold in Germany
Okay.
in 47 or 48, and he lived in New York State, or New York City perhaps, for about 6 months.
Okay.
Before he came here, he served as the Justice of the Peace for Cleveland or Centerville. It used to be all Centerville here originally. He was
All
the
right.
Justice of the Peace. He left Germany in a coffin, according to a story from Emma Burkhardt Klessig.
Okay.
Emma Klessig Burkhardt. She said before she died that Carl Wiegand escaped from Germany. Well, it wasn't Germany at that time. It was Kingdom. So he escaped from wherever. From
Oh,
Lippe or
really?
something. He must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
His friends smuggled him across the border in a coffin.
No
And
kidding.
that's the way he left Germany.
Oh my
He
goodness.
probably did not leave for economic reasons because he was from a family of glassmakers.
Oh.
And we were told that they had quite a bit of money.
Okay.
So money was not a reason. He was 31 years old when he left. He may have either committed a crime. We hope he didn't kill anybody. Or he may have had a political problem.
Okay.
In
That
fact,
could be.
There was a leftist revolution in Germany,
Ah.
in several parts of Germany in the 1840s, late 1840s, and people fled.
I think that sounds more
That sounds like a
legible
better
one.
story for
Yes.
us anyway.
Yes, it is.
So he left Germany alone. He did not have a wife that we know of.
Okay.
He came over to the United States. He got off in Sheboygan from the boat when he came from New York, and he walked from Sheboygan up to here
All right.
And he showed up on the Carl Hammond farm next door to us, which is Shafransky now. It used to be Gupsh.
Okay.
And he was looking for work. That's the story we heard from the Hammonds.
Okay.
And Carl Hammond related that his sister had just lost her husband, Ferdinand Mavis,
Yes.
buried on our farm.
Yes.
And Carl was suggested that Carl Wiegand come over and help her out. You know, she
Okay.
needed some help. So
Sure.
he came over and got married
Uh-huh.
at some point and had a family with Frederica. So that's the story of this guy.
Okay, well,
And
very
this
good.
stone is one of those that you saw under the granary at the farm.
Yes.
We've replaced
You
this one
replaced,
because
this is the stone that you replaced it with. Okay.
it was deteriorating, and we wanted
Sure.
to have a stone here that people could read.
Very good.
Another thing that I always worry about is when you get really old cemeteries and nobody's taking care of the stones anymore, they have a tendency to forget who people were, and the stones break off and you
Right.
can't read them, and at some point they take all the stones away. Like they did over by Mission House. They took all the stones off the cemetery, they put everybody on one stone, and then they just cut the thing. And
Oh,
it's easy
no.
to cut it with the lawnmower.
Oh, yes, but you
Understandably.
lost
But
identifications
you've
there.
lost the location, you know,
Yes.
and unless you have it on a map.
All right.
So we kind of like to keep stones up if we can, and keep, you know, all of this, you know,
Okay.
interesting to people.
Now, I'm just going to go over to John for a minute. You say you're the caretaker here, or did I hear that right?
I am actually one of them. My parents still help it.
Okay.
The three of us clip and trim it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know how many years they're going to be able to do it yet, but
Yeah.
they're still doing it.
Wonderful. Well, that's I must say, it is a very nice looking cemetery.
They
You've done
run
well.
Riding lawnmowers, and I use the weed eater.
Okay.
Trim around the
Sure.
farm and
Well,
the
excellent.
side and everything.
How many years have you been in that position?
We have done it for 28 years.
Really?
We did it for 8 years back in the late 60s and early 70s, and we were off here for about 10 years, and then we've been on now for, this is the 20th year again, so it's 28 if you put the two together.
Sure. Wonderful. Wonderful. And Mr. Yannick, how long have you been a treasurer of this cemetery?
5 years.
Yeah, it would be,
I mean,
5 years?
about that.
Okay, very good.
You might want to ask these two guys about a couple of things. When the cemetery started, if they know
Okay.
how the Saxon Cemetery name came here, if it was St. Peter's before, we don't know.
Okay.
And I know that they kept the records in German.
Everything's in German.
Everything is in German up to a certain year.
So 34.
You can say that.
Okay,
to the-
just one second.
34. Say that to the
Okay, just
camera.
one moment. I have Richard help me out here with the necessary questions on these two gentlemen that are with us. Go right ahead, Richard.
Okay, the first question I have is, when was the cemetery started? And was it started with the church? Was it started before the church or after the church?
Okay.
It all happened about the same time, I know, but do you have a date on that?
I think it's 1851.
Well, the earliest one that I found that I can read up here is 1861.
Okay.
That's the earliest one I can read. Now, I'm not saying that there might not be somebody buried here before that. That I wouldn't, I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
But there's one over toward the driveway over there,
That's the Hoonstone that we were looking at.
Ah, yes.
He died in 1861.
Oh,
1861.
I would guess that there's maybe some people buried here
Buried
from
before that, but we can't read those old
Well,
ones.
we on the church record,
Yeah.
when the
Yeah.
church was started.
I think some of these infant stones here might
Yeah.
be older
But
than
the church started in 63,
63.
1863.
1863. Okay.
1863. Okay, it was later than I thought.
Okay.
1860 was the other one down there.
Yeah, the St. Johannes, which would have started
Yeah.
in
And the name of this particular church was,
St. Peter's.
This was St. Peter's.
this was St. Peter's.
Yeah.
Is there any indication on the records the minister that was in charge at that time at all?
One of the original ministers was Quayle.
We-
And he did both churches. The original ministers, even Sprengling,
Okay.
did both churches.
Ah,
They had one service in Cleveland, and then they had one
We-
here.
okay.
When
John?
we had our church centennial, which was in 1960, they had a book and they had pictures of all
The original ministers.
yeah, I think it's, or I think the pictures at least as far back as they can, but they've certainly got the names in there. You'd be
Somebody must have that.
yeah, you'd be able
Yeah.
to find that.
Be able to find that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you offhand who it was.
Would this cemetery have been called St. Peter's?
As far back as records that the secretary's records, it's called what it is right now.
Saxon.
Yeah, they
Well,
incorporate.
no, it's called Centerville Private Cemetery.
Centerville Private Cemetery.
Cemetery Association. Actually,
Okay.
Yeah, that's the,
Could you repeat that one more time?
It is now called Centerville Private Cemetery.
Okay.
It's now
Official
called that.
name.
That's the
the-
official name
that's-
of the cemetery.
Okay,
Oh,
so it is.
Saxon is not the official name.
No, I don't-
it really isn't, but nobody wants to use that long name.
Yeah, right.
This is everybody knows that it's a
I have
Saxon.
to use it on a checkbook.
You do, yeah. But everybody else, like in the funerals, I mean, the obituaries and that.
Yeah, they
everybody knows
Saxon.
that it's Saxon.
Well,
The sign.
everybody, yeah, the sign and everybody.
Yeah, nobody's gonna put that long name down.
No,
there.
no.
Okay.
Do you have any idea? This, of course, was all Lutherans for many, many years.
Okay.
It was associated with the church here.
Yes.
Do you have any idea when the first non-Lutheran was buried here? There are a few.
Oh, yes.
There are a few now. Do you know
I
who was-
believe it was called the Evangelical Church. I think all of these churches
We're
around
called
here-
evangelical.
Yeah.
I believe you're
Because
right.
that's what the churches are called in Germany.
Ah.
Protestant churches are either evangelical or Catholic in Germany, because one of the princes or something, or Kaisers wanted no more religions than two. And this is why the Liberals and the Reformed and them moved out of Germany. Even the Amish
Okay.
moved out of Germany for that reason.
Now you mentioned, am I pronouncing it right? Lippers? Is that a religious group or what is that?
Area in Germany.
Oh, it's an
a
area in
state. It's
Germany.
it was a kingdom.
Ah.
It was Lippe, and there were two of them. There was Lippe Detmold and there was Lippe something else.
Okay.
Detmold is the capital of Lippe province or state or kingdom
Uh
where
huh.
Wiegand came from.
Ah. Okay.
And to answer or not answer your question, I don't know why Wiegand came to this area.
No,
There's two different rumors. There's some rumors about why Wiegand came here, but
maybe Hamann was Lipper too. Huh?
no, Hamann was a Saxon.
No,
Hamann comes from Saxony. I was just there
And
in
those
in
areas-
March.
areas are wide apart
Yeah, they're far
in
apart.
Germany. But,
Okay.
you know, like Mosel is pretty close to the Lippert Detmold area.
Yeah, Mosel is in the west near the French border, and
Oh,
so
really?
Detmold is in the west.
Ah.
Saxony is in the east. It's way over in the corner by Czechoslovakia and Poland.
Yeah, it was part of
Okay.
East
Right in
Germany
the
when
right
they
in the
were
corner.
divided.
Okay.
In fact, Dresden is only a half an hour away from Czech Republic right now, and probably an hour away from Poland. I
Okay.
was there, and my ancestor Hamann, who married Wiegand, was on a farm here. She's from that area.
All right.
Why Wiegand came to this area, I don't know. There's a story in the family that says that he knew somebody here, or that maybe he knew Frederica. I don't know how he would have known her because he was from the other side of the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that he said to somebody in Sheboygan, in the Erdman area, a relative, he said, I know where I'm going. And he walked straight north from Erdman up to here.
Oh my gosh.
But the story from the Hammonds is that Wiegand came here looking for work.
Okay.
He was out of money, perhaps.
Now you said he settled in New York too?
He was in New York for about 6 months. About a half a
Because
year.
they didn't call them Germans anymore, they called them Yankees, whoever settled in New York or Pennsylvania.
Oh, that could be. Well, he may have been in the city.
Okay.
He may have been in the countryside. I don't know. He was working as a miller, M-I-L-L-E-R, something with a feed milling or grinding,
Okay.
grinding
All right.
business
Yes.
for a
Yes.
while.
All right.
But the old people, I don't know if you remember this, but the old people in our family said that Wiegand sounded funny because he had a different dialect. He had
Oh,
a very,
yes.
very different German than
Okay.
the Saxons, and they made fun
Sure.
of him because of his Lippe, language.
Yes.
The German that he spoke was different than the Saxons, so
Okay.
they sort of made fun of him.
It was more like the Low German.
Yeah,
Ah,
it was more. Of a-
See, I know there was a high and low German. I know my mother talked about
Low
that.
German is near the coast on the north side of Germany.
Okay.
That's Low German.
Ah, very good.
So it's lower area. It's
All right.
Lower land.
That's Floodage.
Plateau-
Floodage.
yeah.
Say that again, Marie.
Floodage. That's called floodage.
Floodage?
Floodage.
Okay. Marie, I'm going to ask you a question. I didn't prompt you at all on this. Do you have relatives coming directly from Germany also anywhere?
Oh, sure.
Okay, and their name was Hibbert or
Lutzy.
Lutzy? Okay.
So all of these come in there.
Ah, so there's
We're
a.
relatives.
Yeah, we're all
So
related.
you're all relatives here.
Sure.
My goodness gracious.
Lutzy, Vogel, Wiegand.
When Reverend
Wiegand.
Brown was minister
Yes.
at St. John, St. Peter,
Yes.
he said somebody asked him once if he got to know all the people. Why, he said, you figure 1/3 of them are Lutzys.
Yeah.
I think there used to be, I'm just guessing, I think there used to be 100 living Lutzys in this area.
Oh my
at one
Yeah.
point.
gosh.
You know, because we had the photograph in 1924. Of course, they weren't all called Lutzy, but they were all Lutzy descendants.
Sure.
There were 196 people on that photograph. They had different names. Some were Wiegand,
Yeah.
some were
Sure.
Vogels,
Sure.
some were.
related.
Yeah.
Yannies too? Okay.
But you know, people actually with the name Lutzy, there could have been 100 of them. at one
So
point.
really, as I'm speaking to you four people here, you're all related in some fashion to each other.
No, not funny.
I don't think the Yannicks.
Well, my great-grandmother, no, my grandmother was a Lutzy.
Oh,
Ah, there you go.
Where was that? Which one?
That was his Ernst's first wife.
Oh, okay.
Look at that.
So, well, then there's.
There,
She
we,
married
we,
a house
we've got the full
on-
circle here.
Then we are all related.
You're all related.
Yeah, we're related to the Lutzys.
My
Because
goodness.
John and I are 1/8 Lutzy.
Okay.
Our great grandmother, what was her name? Was married to Louis P. Wiegand, our great grandfather.
Okay. Well, very, very good. This is very interesting and very unique. I'm very proud to be among you folks, although I'm a little bit an alien here, I guess.
not related.
Not
His
related.
name is O'Neill. He doesn't belong here.
I doesn't belong.
Oh, Ireland, I guess.
Run him out of town.
Yeah. I better start backing away right now. The Saxon Cemetery, and I'm talking to Mr. Wiegand, and he can indicate what we're doing here and what he's standing next to.
Okay, this statue here is Carl Louis Rick.
Okay.
Was born in 1881.
All right.
He was the son of Carl Rick, who was buried by the big monument over along the driveway.
Okay, we'll get to that. Okay.
Yeah. The son, well, he was born in 1881 in May, and he played in a band with his father and sister
Okay.
down at what they call a German house. After a while, the last tavern, it was a Nickelbein Tavern, but Carl Rick built that. It was a German house, and he had kind of a family band, the three of them.
Okay.
His sister, he, and the father, and unfortunately, this young man died just short of his 18th birthday, and so it was really tragic. I mean, the father just was so heartbroken. I really can't tell you what he died of, and for some reason or other, nobody seems to be able to tell me, but I'm still researching that. And
Okay.
hopefully sometime I'll figure it out. But
All right.
I can't tell you that right now. But,
Okay. Very good. We'll walk to the back side of the statue here, and there'll be some information that you might be able to relay to us there. The two people here that are looking over the stone that John had talked about earlier, and Marie, would you be able to read the inscription on that stone, please?
It says Carl Louis Sohn.
his son.
Oh,
Son
yeah.
Yeah,
Son.
son.
Sohn, that means son. Sohn.
Okay.
Okay.
Sohn
Got it.
Read it in German. Yeah.
von Karl und Hermione Rick. Geboren den 19. Mai 18.
81. Be 1880.
81.
Yeah, 1881.
Gestorben den 2. Mai, oh, in Mai too. 1899.
Yeah.
Ruhe sanft. That means rest in peace.
Ah, yes. Could you repeat that one more time in German and the English?
Oh,
That-
the whole thing?
No, just that last part of
Oh,
the.
Ruhe sanft.
Yes.
That means rest in peace.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Marie. And John, anything that you can provide here
I
yet
was
for?
just going to mention, if you notice, the way the the cement.
Oh, yes.
I don't know what you call it, form or whatever they
Yes,
had here.
yes.
He has that by all of his children. The Ricks,
over there?
Carl and Herminia Rick, lost 3 other children at a very young age.
Really?
And they're buried in different places down there. And they also have this same cement
Pattern, huh?
pattern on here.
Oh, okay.
All of them have that.
Okay.
And when you get over there, you'll notice that they have it over there too.
All right.
They're the only ones on the whole cemetery that did that.
All right. I'm going to just go over the inscriptions that are in here again. Well, I'm gonna-
Jaren, Jungen Jaren, and something in Kraft.
In Reich,
In Reich, in Kraft, in riches or Reich or wealth and work. Leben is lived for die Mittenhaft. You know, we could figure out what it means. We could figure out what
Yes,
the German is.
Himmel, that's heaven.
Heaven, okay. Any
Himmel.
other words that you can just pick out there, Marie?
Yeah,
Or Richard?
it's hard to.
Okay.
Not really.
We'll go on the other side, see if it
Not
says
really.
anything different.
See that on the-
Okay, any words that you can pick out, Marie, in there?
Here's Gott, and here's Gott. That's God.
Yeah.
Okay. Two gentlemen here who have more information in regard to this particular statue on the cemetery. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Richard and my brother John Wiegand, we're talking about Carl Rick's son here who died at the age of almost 18 years old. What I wanted to mention was that 2 buildings that Carl Rick Sr., oh, this guy's name was Lewis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis, okay. Carl Rick Sr., the elder, built recently were both destroyed. Within the last month and a half, Nickelbein's Tavern, which was the tavern that John was referring to that had been established by Carl Rick, burned down in an accidental fire.
Okay.
And was it 2 years ago, 1 year or 2 years ago, the fire department took down the house that Carl Rick lived in, just around the corner on Union Road, in just a practice burn. The owner didn't want the house anymore. It was an
Okay.
old house,
Huh.
and they burned it down. So
All right.
both of Carl Rick's buildings are gone now.
Wow. Wow.
It's kind of sad, but
Yeah.
You could also mention
Yes,
that,
John. Go right ahead.
that Carl Rick built the school up here before this one.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Which is
it's down by
Okay,
Yost down there, that building.
the schoolhouse that
Ah,
was here before,
okay, very good.
before the brick house school.
Yes.
Pleasant Hill School, the brick one, was established in 1917.
Yeah.
Is the one that we went to.
All right.
Okay, and our father went to.
All right.
But our grandfather went to a wooden school on that property, a wooden frame building.
Yes.
And he says that, John says that Carl Rick built that building.
Wow.
That's
In 1873.
1873.
Wow.
When the brick school was built here, that building was purchased by Taple, or before, but
Probably Taple, yeah.
yeah, our uncle, or our dad's uncle, William Taple,
All right.
moved it down to Cleveland, and it's the tin shop on R.P. Yoss property on the north
didn't know
side,
that either.
Yeah,
Wow.
north side of Washington. That tin shop is the schoolhouse that used to be
yeah,
here.
that was the one before that.
Wow. Great. Well, very interesting bit of information there. Thank you.
That's what I was told.
Yeah, I remember it was like a black boards or something over the top. I was always searched it.
Standing in front of a large monument on the Saxon Cemetery, and these gentlemen can give us more information about what we're looking at.
Okay, Richard Wiegand and brother John Wiegand. I will mention that this is the largest gravestone on the cemetery. It's probably the most expensive or the classiest gravestone that we have on the cemetery here. John, you might want to mention something about Carl being in the Civil War.
Yeah, I'll start out, well, just a little brief history. Carl's parents came over in 1851 when Carl was either 4 or 5 years old. Carl was born in 1846 in Brandenburg, Germany.
Okay.
And when in 1851, they came over and they settled a small farm in the town of Mimi.
Okay.
And when the Civil War began in April of 1861, at that time Carl was like 14 and a half, and he was, well, too young to get into the service, but many of his friends were joining.
Okay.
And he said later in later years that he was lonely because so many of his friends were gone off to war.
Yeah.
He tried to enlist, but they wouldn't let him in at that age.
Okay.
What he did, he found out that a cargo ship was leaving from Manitowoc to go to Milwaukee, and he snuck aboard, and in the steamer part, he was in there, and
Yeah.
they didn't know he was in there until they were about halfway down to Milwaukee. Well, what were they going to do, throw him off then?
Yeah.
So when he got down there in Milwaukee, they did let him get through, I guess, and
Okay.
rumor has it that he down there he lied about his age, told him he was 16, I guess, but
All right.
well, I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you. But he did get in, and then from there they sent him to Madison for some physical tests that they had to take even back in those days.
Okay.
He passed, and he was assigned to the 9th Wisconsin Regiment,
Okay.
and well, that was the Civil War. He ended up being assigned to what they call a commissary unit, which was a unit that had to take food to the fighting men.
All right. Sure.
Since he was a teenager, I guess they didn't expect him to do a lot of shooting or anything, but that was his assignment, get food to the front.
Okay.
And I found out he did serve in at least 3 different states, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma.
Oh boy.
And when he got out of the service in 1865,
Sure.
after 3 years,
Yes.
he'd gotten in 1862, because it took a while before he got in. He did get an honorable discharge
Wonderful.
at the age of 18, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
that was
That's got to
back
be
then.
unique. That's got to be unique.
In those days, I guess they got in pretty young. But I
Very-
don't know
Okay.
how young, but he was certainly one of the youngest.
And he survived through the war,
Yeah, he
and
did. And when he came back,
okay.
he went back to the farm in Mimi, his parents' farm, but he was kind of bored with farm life. I guess after you serve,
Yes. You want a little more excitement.
you want a little more excitement, and he went to Michigan to work in the lumber yards, and he also worked in Pennsylvania in
Okay.
coal mines. I'm not totally sure which one was first, but he did both of those.
Okay.
And it was probably working in the lumber yards that he learned how to be a carpenter.
All right.
And when he came back here, somewhere around 1870, maybe thereabouts, or he got married in 1871. He bought a 60-acre farm just to the north of here,
Okay.
and but he also did carpenter work besides. That's when he built the school
Really?
here in '73, actually, and he
Okay.
probably, who knows, put up some buildings on the farm. We don't know for sure, but he may have. And apparently he built that tavern down here, the German house.
Really?
Yeah. I assume
That was a huge building
yeah,
that
I
I can
assume
remember.
he had help, but he was a carpenter, and he kind of was the guy that headed it up, I guess.
Wow. Wow. What a heritage.
So then, I don't know how he could manage to do all these things, but he had this 60-acre farm,
Okay.
which I'm assuming he didn't, maybe it wasn't all cleared yet. It may have been a lot of trees on it too, I don't know, but probably had a few animals on there. But in 1872 also, he started operating the German house, the tavern down here,
Okay.
and he operated that for slightly over 30 years, 1903, before
No
he sold
kidding.
it to the next owner. So it was during those years that he got real interested in music. Now, we don't know exactly when he learned to play the clarinet, but he learned it and he learned it well. He played down here for anniversaries, wedding, maybe wedding anniversaries, weddings,
Yeah,
dances, types of things.
Sure.
On weekends. And of course later he took his kids in, but before he established his own band, he also played in bands in Manitowoc and Sheboygan for 20 plus years.
These
So-
would have been polka bands.
Yeah, I suppose.
Really?
So, they,
Yeah.
he was very musical.
Yeah,
Should have made that his career, but I guess back then maybe he didn't do those things.
that's right. That's right. Well,
He was in there until 1903, and then he sold it, and I guess he went back to his farm and
okay.
lived out his retirement years. But the unique thing about that, besides being musically inclined, he made some of his own instruments.
My gosh.
Made them himself, not like the clarinet, and I don't know what other ones, but the clarinet, I guess, was his favorite instrument.
Yes.
And he was a thrifty guy. He didn't want to go out and buy them somewhere, so he made them. And we
Wonderful.
often wondered where did they ever end up, and I guess we don't really know where they ended up. Maybe they're amongst some
Collection or
collection,
museum.
something.
Oh, okay.
We have no idea. I'd love to find out where they are, but
Wow.
I'm assuming they're somewhere. But
Yeah.
he loved to show people his instruments, all through his retirement years, and I probably played for him too.
Sure.
And he also liked recounting his war experiences. Now, I had heard or read that he chronicled
Oh, wonderful.
some of his war experiences. During the time that he was there, and again, I wish I knew where that ended up, but
Yes,
I couldn't
yeah.
tell you where it is.
Yeah.
His wife died in 1925. He's buried.
Okay.
there.
Let's. We'll get that there, John.
72 years old. Now, if you notice, I mentioned down there they have the cement frames. They also have that here.
Yes.
And Marie was just mentioning she can remember there when it was open and there were boards on the top.
Oh, really?
I was told by somebody, and I can't prove that these things, it isn't just cement on the top. They're cemented all the way down,
Really?
like a
Almost like a foundation. huh?
like a tomb.
Yeah.
All right.
Cement all the way down, bottom, everything.
Yes.
And Carl, apparently, when his wife died, he had these dug like that,
Yes.
and instead of filling them up with ground again, they just
Put.
a wooden platform over the top. Because I heard somebody else say too that they looked in there and it was open in there.
Okay.
And so it was open until, well, he died in April of 1936.
Okay.
I
Now
read that
this gentleman here is. What relation? Is it a son?
this is the father.
This is the father.
This is the father.
Carl. This is
the
Carl.
Civil War veteran.
Ah, yes.
He was 89 years old. He died in
Oh,
April
okay.
30th, 1936.
Okay.
I heard that he was in pretty good health up until a few weeks before he died.
Okay.
So, 89 years old, that's doing pretty good.
Pretty good.
And over on this side here,
Yes.
this is his daughter, Emma, who lived with him all these years. She
Okay.
never married.
All right.
She died in 1959 at the age of 86.
Okay.
So, but
That's what that means. Tochter is
Daughter,
means daughter.
Oh, okay.
Mother is mother.
Okay. Could you say that one more time? Now the
She
top.
can pronounce it better. Tochter.
Tochter?
Tochter.
Yeah, I think that's daughter.
His daughter.
Okay.
And son, S-O-H-N is son.
Okay.
And mother is mother.
Mother.
And
Okay.
father is father.
Ah.
So that's
Okay.
what that means. I will mention that, or John can mention about the article that, or the discussion that the professor had, Carl, or what was his name, Kerry Trask, at the University of Wisconsin, Manitowoc, he's written articles about the Civil War veterans from
Yes.
Manitowoc County. He
Okay.
did not know, apparently didn't know about Carl.
Really?
And he stated somewhere that the oldest surviving Civil War veteran in Manitowoc County died in what, 1932?
33.
33.
Yeah.
It's not correct.
No. No.
He died in 1936.
Yeah.
So we corrected him.
Wonderful.
John went and talked to the.
I wrote him something.
Well,
And,
that
the
is.
man that died in 33 was older, actually. He was 92 years old.
Yes.
But he was not the last surviving Civil War veteran.
Yes. So
man
this
was.
is it.
we think that Carl is the longest, or is the last Civil War veteran in Manitowoc County.
That's what the article has said. and
Really?
That's what we've heard. He was
Okay.
the last one.
Very good. Very good. Well.
It should also be pointed out, Richard mentioned fancy monument here.
Yes.
This monument actually was taller.
It
My
was
father-
taller.
It was taller than that. I don't know how much taller, but my father, Marie remembers it,
Yeah.
and my father remembers
Yeah.
it. The top windstorm blew the top
Yeah.
over.
Okay.
But this is many years ago
Oh,
when
that's
that
a long
happened.
time ago.
Okay.
But it was a taller monument yet.
Yeah.
Very good.
But it is, even the way it is, I mean, it is a
It-
fancy monument.
It's impressive.
Oh, it looks like the Washington Monument.
Yes.
I mean, it's-
I'm going to back up a minute here. Okay, this is a tall monument that they were referring to and providing information on, and it is very impressive. John has got some more information.
A few tidbits. When Carl died in 1936, this cemetery received $600 from the Ricks.
Okay,
$300 from the Carl Rick estate, and another $300 from the daughter Emma,
okay,
for a $600 total, which is a astronomical amount of money for 1936.
That is right.
$600.
Yes.
That would buy now. And one of the things that they had to do with it, they put the water system in the well.
Okay.
By the building there.
all right,
That came out of that money. That was designated. His name is on there. It says donated by Carl Rick and family.
okay,
So we didn't have a water system before that, but that's where it came from.
ah,
And one last thing I was going to mention, I and a few other people have been working on kind of a short biography of Carl Rick, which included a lot of the things that I've just told you right
yes,
now.
yes,
We'd like to have it published in the Manitowoc Herald Times, and they will probably do that, but we're not quite ready yet. It's
Okay.
hopefully happen this year yet.
wonderful,
I'm working with somebody else on it now, and we're going to get a few more things together, and
okay,
it should happen this year yet. So,
wonderful.
Who's the descendant, the doctor that you're talking to?
the
That guy
doctor is
might have some information.
Rick Beiersdorf, Dr. Rick Beiersdorf,
Lives over toward Spring Valley.
towards Spring Valley, yeah.
Okay,
And, that was a Rick farm once. Albert Rick was on that place. That's where he lives now. He's a descendant of Carl Rick.
all of that too.
He's a kind of a family historian. He's got some articles too. I don't know if there's anything beyond this. I
Okay.
think a few new things that I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But I'm working with him whenever time he's got, and we're going to try and get a little more together and get it in the Herald Times.
Very
Would that
good.
have been the original Rick farm?
We think it might have been. He would probably know. I'm
Yeah.
not totally sure. But
Okay.
there was a Rick on there before he was on there.
Okay,
Because they settled in town Mimi, so it would
That's-
make sense.
That's Mimi.
okay,
It's across the
very
border.
good. Of information that just come about, and maybe we can ask John for a little bit more on that, please.
Carl Rick was born in Brandenburg, Germany,
Okay,
October 25th, 1846.
all right,
And in 1851, his father brought the family over to the United States, and they settled on a small farm in the town of Mimi.
all right,
From what I know, Brandenburg, is the name of that famous place in Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate,
oh yes,
with the pillars.
Yes.
It's an old thing with a bird on it or something like that.
Yeah.
The Nazis used that. That became, I think, later the division line between East and West Berlin.
oh really,
But
okay,
Brandenburg, as far as I know, is a city. It's outside of Berlin. It's on one of the main roads going to Berlin.
okay,
So that was, Brandenburg Gate, I think, was the exit of Berlin toward Brandenburg or something in the old days.
Okay.
I haven't been there, but I remember seeing it on the map.
very good, very good.
I
Well,
also wanted to mention something about the name Carl, and maybe Marie can add to this. He spelled his name with a K.
yes,
Now, our Carl Wiegands, we have a couple of them. In fact, there's 3 Carl Wiegands in our history.
okay,
All spelled them with a C.
ah,
And we don't know, on the Bible, I think it's C, Carl Wiegand. So in Germany already, they either used K or C. And what happened with the C Carls that came to the United States is they sometimes called them Charles or
oh,
Charlie,
yes, yes,
which we've
okay,
seen in the history a little too. They said Charlie Wiegand, or Carl Wiegand Sr., the one who came from Germany, was called Carl, and maybe his son was called Charlie.
yeah,
I don't know, but that went back and forth sometimes, but I don't think they ever used the K Carls and called them Charlie. I don't think so.
But just to mention this, it's Carl on the monument, Carl here, Carl is over on the water system. On the graves that I can read over there, it says Carl Louis, son von Carl, and it's spelled with a C on that monument.
The son's name is Carl, and the father's name is also listed as Carl. That's
With a
right,
C,
with a C.
So,
Oh.
and here it's K. We
Yeah.
don't quite know what's going on there, but
Okay.
sometimes I've seen it C, sometimes I've seen
Yeah.
it K.
Yes.
And in one article I also saw Charles Rick, just like you said.
Yeah,
Ah, yeah.
But it's all the same guy. You don't have to worry about that. And it's Carl Rick. But
was Charlie Hammond. They always said Charlie Hammond.
Yeah.
they
Just
kind
do
of
it.
interchange the K and the C, but we usually use the K because that's what he's got on the monument.
Oh,
here.
okay.
I've seen it the other way too, so
All right.
don't be fooled by that. It's the same man.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, we're looking at an unusual grave marker, and the gentleman here can identify himself and indicate some information that might be able to be seen here. Go right ahead, please, John.
Again, I'm John Wiegand, caretaker of the cemetery. I don't have a lot of information on this man, but from what I've heard, he did some logging way back when.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it was in a different state or wherever, but he apparently enjoyed the work a lot and wanted to be remembered that way, so this is what they did for him. They gave him a monument in the form of logs.
Wow.
And it's certainly a unique monument.
It certainly is. I have not seen one like that.
I'm sorry I can't give more information about it, but maybe somebody else would know.
Okay. Could you read the inscription, John, just so we got that on tape
Okay.
also, please?
But Franz Wimmler was born September 16th, 1833, and died June 13th, 1904, and well, that would be his wife,
Okay, go right ahead.
Elena Wimmler.
Yeah.
Born November 24th, 1839, died April 28th, 1907.
You can actually see the Wimmler
Yeah.
farm.
Okay.
Where
It's
the
over
blue
here
building-
where that.
Where that blue building is
yeah.
back there? Okay.
Yeah, there's a tin roof.
That was a Wimmler
Okay.
farm.
Was the Wimmler where that single silo is there,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that old building there. Yeah.
Okay, so it's,
That was the Wimmler farm.
okay, that's the Wimmler farm back there. As the silo, as Richard pointed out.
The old silo, old concrete silo.
Okay. And this gentleman lived there, or was was that a relative?
We don't know for sure if he lived there or not, but he probably ended up being a farmer like a lot of others around here. But apparently, early in his life, he was in a logger in the logging business, and
Okay.
that's what he wanted.
That was his love of life, and they.
Apparently, that was what he wanted to be remembered by.
Okay, very good.
Kind of monument that way.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you, John.
Was it 71? 68. Or was 68?
Okay, we're looking at a gravestone here, and
He had 68 on
Yeah.
I guess, Richard, would you like to identify yourself and what the situation is about here?
Yeah, Richard Wiegand, and actually John knows probably a little more about this than I do, but this is a fellow named Hilbert Vogel who I vaguely remember. He was a school teacher, right? And he put a gravestone up here, and he actually put down his death date on here before he had died.
Really?
Yes, he bought the stone and he put 1968 on here.
When his wife died.
Maybe he bought the stone when his wife died, and he
Yeah.
put 68 down.
Oh,
and he
and-
lived to 1970, so they had to change the stone after he died. I've never heard of anybody ever doing this.
Putting a
Putting a
predated
pre-death
gravestone.
date on their stone.
I remember that too.
there.
Very, very.
People were wondering, is he going to commit suicide?
Yeah, right. It would kind of.
Why he did that, and I don't know if you knew him. I had no idea. I don't know.
You knew
why
him,
he
Marie?
did that,
Yeah. Well, I suppose he thought, heck, why change the name? Why pay some more money to have
Yeah, but
the year put on?
Yes,
But I don't know why he did that.
No, I didn't.
he was a unique individual too, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, he was.
very unique.
Very nice. Okay, thank you. We're looking at a stone that's embedded into the ground somewhat, and maybe Richard can give us some more information here. Go right ahead, Richard.
Richard Wiegand. When the cemetery was established, we were on the north side of the cemetery before, where the graves, where all the older graves are, where the cemetery was started on the north side.
Yes.
There were a few people who had committed suicide, and they wouldn't bury them with the other people. They buried them in a separate area.
Okay.
And my dad's aunt, Anita Wagner, told me that she used to be in charge of watering the graves over here.
Yes.
the suicides, and she said there were about 3 of them. We figured there were 3 of them. We only see 1 stone,
Okay.
but we think there's 3 people buried here.
Right in this
And
area here,
This
huh?
particular one was August Mavis, and
Never saw that.
we've written down the information. He was born in 1849 and he died in 1869.
Okay.
And he has somehow been associated with the Wiegand family.
All right.
We've never been able to figure out how, but John Lutzy used to cut the grass here, and Lester Fiedler, I think
Yeah.
that they dig the graves too.
Mm-hmm.
And those 2 guys, I think, told my dad one time that this August Mavis, they think
Okay.
he lived on our farm.
All right.
Now, the only connection we have with Mavis, of course, is that Frederica, when she came over to the States, was married to a Ferdinand Mavis, and then he died, and then Wiegand married her.
Okay.
It's possible that she knew there were other Mavises that were living in town
Okay.
Mosel. And in
All right.
fact, I found an August Mavis on the census.
Okay.
It matches this guy
All right.
from town Mosel.
Okay.
So it's possible because cousins and nephews and nieces used to work on relatives' farms and used to spend time.
Sure. Sure.
It's possible that he may have worked for us.
Okay.
Whether he committed suicide on our farm or what,
Oh,
that
yeah.
we have never
Nobody-
heard from anybody.
And how he did it, or
I specifically asked
nothing.
Anita Wagner, who was the oldest surviving Wiegand she died in 1985.
Yeah.
She was 96. She did not know, and I think
Okay.
she didn't know.
All right.
Unless she didn't want to say, but,
Yeah, but-
she did not know. She said flatly she did not know.
Okay.
So I don't know what tie this guy has, other than the fact that his name was Mavis and that we had a Mavis living on our farm at one point. But
Okay.
by 1869, of course, Ferdinand died in 1848,
Yeah.
before this guy was even born.
Well,
So he wasn't the son of Ferdinand.
that's right.
Not that, unless there was a date confusion somewhere. He wasn't the son of Ferdinand Mavis
Okay.
that we know of, because he fits in another family in Mosel, and I did find it on the census.
Okay.
But I wanted to point out that
Sure.
they buried the suicide
Sure.
separate. Of course, other people have committed suicide, a few, and they were buried with their families.
With their families like anybody else.
Wherever their stones were
Sure.
in the cemetery.
Okay.
So that's
Very
what
good.
I know about that.
On the Saxon Cemetery, and Richard has a bit more information, and maybe you want to start with reading the inscription there.
Yeah, this is the gravestone. I'm Richard Wiegand. This is the gravestone of Friedrich August Klessig, who was our neighbor across the road from Saxony, and he was born on the 21st of March in 1830, and he died on the 9th of June in 1900. And his wife was Elizabeth Wagner Klessig.
Okay.
And she was born on the 27th of September in 1829, and she died the 28th of January in 1911. And then it says rest in peace,
Oh, yes.
and it's actually spelled differently here.
Yeah.
R-U-H-E-T, Ruet. Sanft, I don't know why, but they
Okay.
spelled it a little differently there.
All right.
Friedrich August Klessig was one of several siblings, several brothers that came over to the United States from Germany. They're from Saxony, from East Germany, but a different part of Saxony than the Hamans were, than my ancestor was.
Okay.
The Klessigs have contacted Klessigs in Germany. They have relatives there. They have made all of these connections, which we haven't done. His father came to the States to visit his children on 2 different occasions. The old man came
Oh,
from Germany.
he
They
came
had
from
some
Germany.
money.
Yes.
They had some money.
Yes.
Elizabeth Wagner Klessig is from the Wagner Grunwald farm that I was talking about earlier. That is a homestead farm from 1848.
Okay.
There was 4 Wagner farms in a row
Wow.
on Orchard Road. My dad was telling me about this.
Okay.
And one of them was this Wagner, and she's from one of the Wagner farms over there.
Okay.
The person who conducted the wedding of August and Elizabeth was my ancestor, Carl R.G. Wiegand, in his capacity as Justice of the Peace.
Okay.
We never knew this until the Klessigs produced the marriage document. And here it was signed by Carl R.G. Wiegand, Justice of the Peace. So our families are intertwined in many different ways.
Many ways. Many ways.
Lived across the road from them for 154 years now, or 152 years.
Yeah.
So these are very, very important people in the community, and the Klessigs could tell you a lot more about them. The Klesiks have had reunions attended by 350 people, and the Wagners
Really?
had a reunion in Lakeland College 5-6 years ago that I attended, and that was also attended by maybe 300 people,
Wow.
something like
Unbelievable.
that. They're large families and
Yes.
well organized. They've got their act together. I'm still working on the Wiegand stuff, and it's taking time, you know. But these are important people in our neighborhood here,
Very good.
and longtime neighbors of ours.
Okay. Well, at this point, Richard, I would probably think you might want to end the day with a little bit of an ending here, and then we'll continue this at a later time. So any kind of words you might have at this time?
Yeah, I wanted to move up, you know, with our progress with the Greater Centerville Oral History Group. You know, we've been covering Hika, and we're moving into the village of Cleveland now.
Yes.
I wanted to cover the Saxon Cemetery here because of my father's age, and you know, he's a little bit frail at this point, hasn't been feeling well, and he wasn't well enough to come out here today. But my father would know more about this cemetery probably than anybody that I know.
Yes.
You know, with hardly any exceptions.
Very good.
And my father, Louis Wiegand, and the family, John and I both, were very good with names and dates and
Yes, you are.
how people fit together and the history of things. So we wanted to cover this. So we scheduled a date. My father couldn't come here today, but John and I covered some of the information on the Saxon Cemetery, and we'll get back here periodically and
Okay.
talk more about the stones and the people who are buried here, you know, the history of the cemetery and that. So
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Richard.
thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Okay, we're in on Saxon Cemetery as yet, and we're in the Taple family plots. And Marie Hibbert can give us some more information that was kind of unique. Go ahead, Marie.
I just remember coming up here, and well, what year was it when she died? 1917. She was never married. She was the daughter of the Reverend Taple, and they opened up her casket right over here that all the rest of our relation could look at her. And I remember she had yellow jaundice, and she was real yellow. That's the
Okay.
only time I ever saw them open up a casket on a cemetery.
Okay, in other words, the relatives were
The
here?
relatives from around here, because they were from Algoma.
Okay.
Algoma.
Okay, that makes, okay.
And they're buried here.
So they wanted to be buried here at the family plot,
Yeah,
but in order for everybody to view the body,
Yeah.
they opened it here.
because all the relation were around here.
Okay, all
They
right.
opened it up. Only
Oh.
time I ever saw that.
Yes, that's very unique. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Okay, we're looking at an unusual stone where they have the picture of the bride and groom, I believe, at that time, or the mother and dad. And we can have some more information provided here. Go right ahead, please.
Richard Wiegand, and I would be one generation removed cousin, but Leroy Wiegand was the son of Kurt Wiegand, and he's a first cousin to my dad, Louis Wiegand.
Okay,
This is the Wiegand lot here. So
all right.
Leroy Wiegand died in 1997, and he was 77, right? Yeah, he was 77. And what he did was he put, well, his wife is still living, so her
Okay,
name is here, and he's there. Her maiden name was Crystal. She's from the St. Nazianz area.
okay,
And they put their wedding picture on here when they got married, October 12th, 1946.
wow,
This is the wedding picture. It's right on the stone. What they've also done is they put all the children's names
yes,
on the bottom here. They're not
Okay.
buried here.
they're not
They
buried.
probably won't be buried here, but
Yes,
but the children there, Leonie, Gary, Mark, Lee, Marlene, and then there was an infant that died. And it says goodbye. It says Auf Wiedersehen on there.
Oh
It
my
says
God.
Goodbye to the children.
very nice, very nice.
It's a very nice stone. And Leroy was a veteran of World War II. And yeah, here's the military marker there.
Okay, let's get
Okay.
that.
Right here.
On the back too, I think.
Yeah, the back
Yeah, he was a
first class.
Okay,
veteran of the war in the Pacific.
ah,
I
okay,
remember him talking about that sometimes. Yes, you can come around in the backside and you can see.
all
where
right.
Pacific wasn't his sister.
Maybe you can describe something about the person that's buried here.
He was in the service, and I remember that he was a twin, and
Okay.
her name was Lucille, and she was also, I think, in the army.
Leroy Wiegand lived on the Schnelly farm next door to the cemetery here. It
Okay.
was Kurt Wiegand's son, and then he farmed for a while, and then he sold the farm to Hoon,
Okay.
to William Hoon, and then he moved into the village and then worked at Kohler Company for the rest of his career.
All right.